Slammy, Agro, Slammy, Agro, Slammy, hey. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome, episode 621 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fenn with you here, July 30th, 2024, deadline day. What a freaking day that was, huh? Holy cow. Man, roller coaster. Talk about that game. This day, the Padres, we thought that their focus was going to be on starting pitching, and instead they go pretty much full bullpen. They got Martin Perez, but they full bullpen really. And now they have one of the best, if not the best, bullpen back end for sure, bullpen in Major League Baseball. And then they get down to a 5-0 deficit, punched right in the mouth. And then they end up winning this game. They don't allow the Dodgers to score at all the rest of the game. They win this game 6-5 in 10 innings. Manny, I mean, this was the Manny Machado game. Jackson Merrill came up huge, obviously, as well with his homer to tie it, and the great diving catch that he made. But, I mean, Manny homered off of glass now, homered to make it a one-run game there in the 9th inning. Unbelievable. Made two amazing catches. One in the Dodger dugout and then down the left field line. Incredible night. I mean, holy cow. There's a lot to talk about, obviously. I have my full thoughts on this trade deadline. Did the Padres give up too much? All the details. Enyel de los Santos, to the happiness of a lot of Padres fans, is no longer in that Padres bullpen. He is now with the New York Yankees. I mean, the farm system is like nothing other than DeVry and Salas in terms of like the guys that, casual Padres fans would know. Man, what a freaking day. This Padres team, you just don't know what's going to happen. They're the most entertaining team in baseball, maybe. I know I'm biased because I'm a Padres fan, but holy cow. I'm going to say that probably 50 times tonight, because I just don't. Sometimes I just got to say, wow. Sometimes I just got to say, holy cow, what did we just watch today? What did we just experience today as Padres fans? If you want to join the show and give some of your thoughts, I will put down the link later in the show. I don't want to pin it up right now. I just want to give my thoughts, and then I will drop the link down there when it is appropriate to do so. But let's start off with the game, because that obviously just happened. Padres 6-5 walk-off win over the Dodgers. Yeah, Matt Waldron put the Padres in a hole for sure. Was hanging some pitches. What was it? Less than 80 miles per hour on that not Gavin Lux. He had the sac fly. The homer by Kevin Biggio. Yeah. I mean, that's like the shortest home run that you can hit at Petco Park, right? I mean, right field corner, right off the foul pole. But hey, it was a home run. 5-0 lead after one inning. And this was like the National start that he had, right? First inning, gave up runs, but then he was great the rest of the outing. And then this Dodgers outing, gives up a bunch of runs in the first inning, puts you behind, but then he was good the rest of the outing. And then after Matt Waldron ends up finishing his 4 innings of work, gave no runs in the final 3 innings. Obviously, there was a lot of pitches that he threw there, and so that kind of screwed with him there. He finishes with 81 pitches. And Schilt goes to Matsui, Kolek, Morahone, Gillespie, Estrada, and Suarez to finish it off. No runs combined between those 6 Padres pitchers. How many strikeouts? 7 strikeouts. There were some walks in there, but they got out of those jams. And Mike Schilt, I mean, yeah, managerial masterclass. You had Mike Schilt making all of the right moves today. And by the way, when Solano pinch hit for Crony, I would have probably left Crony in there just because I'm a Padres fan and I'm not the manager. Because I will remember for the rest of my life who was pitching when Cronenworth got that hit at Petco in Game 4 of the NLDS. It was the guy on the mound tonight, Alex Vessier, who was having a great season. He's having a great season, but when he's facing the Padres, I don't care. I'm not scared of him. I would have left Crony out there, but if you're basing it off of matchups and it's not baseball Padre fan Ben out there managing, it's Mike Schilt managing. That's why he's managing. You put Donovan Solano in the game there. Like I understand it. I wasn't pissed off. For anyone that saw me tweet out, did Schilt not watch Game 4 NLDS in 2022? It's not. I wasn't saying like Solano definitely should not be pinch hitting here. I was just having some fun. Like what? Solano pinch hitting here? It was fine. Either decision. Crony stay in. I understand that. Solano pinch hit. I understand that. Mike Schilt had a managerial masterclass, while on the other side, Dave Roberts doesn't know the rules. You had a mound visit there after you intentionally walk, by the way, Mr. Irrelevant. So pretty relevant. You walk that guy to bring up the Cronenworth spot. You try to go out there, I think, to pull him out of the game, but you can't do it because your pitching coach just went out there to talk to Vesia. So you try to go out there. The ump says, no. You get a pitch clock violation because you're stalling the game here. Like Dave Roberts, just classic, not knowing the rules, not knowing what he's just brain fart in the middle of a huge situation. So, yeah, who's got the better manager, the Padres or the Dodgers? I know the answer to it. It's pretty easy to win a lot of regular season games when you have all that talent on that team that Dave Roberts has had year in and year out. My goodness, just what a night. And so the Padres, they fight back. Manny with the homer off of Glasnow. What a freaking game for Manny. Goes Oppo off of Glasnow. Then the bottom of the third, Profar singles down the line. Arise scores. Crony with the double. Made it 5-3. Profar scored there. And then no runs for a while there until the bottom of the ninth. Shout out to Jeremiah Estrada, by the way. He gets through that inning in, what was that, the 8th inning? Yeah, I think it was the 8th inning. Yeah, 8th inning. Because Suarez pitched the 9th. Right? Or was it the 9th? No. I think Estrada was the top of the 9th. My bad. Top of the 9th. He gets through that inning, and as he's walking to the dugout, he is yelling to the dugout, let's get some effing runs. And the Padres heard him loud and clear. At least Manny and Merrill did. Manny with the homer made it 5-4. Merrill with the homer made it 5-5. And I'm clipping the highlights, and the TV is behind. So sorry to my family watching. I spoiled it for them. Sorry. I can't contain my excitement when that happens, especially when you're facing the team up north. Manny homers, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. They're in it. They were already in it, but all right, really in it. But then Merrill homers, and my jaw drops. I'm like, oh, just like laughing as the ball's in the air. And then seeing the freeze frame, watching it back and screenshotting it. I posted on Twitter, by the way, or X, whatever, of Merrill looking at the ball like 500 feet in the air, and then the fans in the background all standing up and trying with his hands over his head like, what the heck just happened? Oh, my goodness. What a moment. Jackson Merrill, if you didn't know that Jackson Merrill was ready for the big stage and he is ready for this, now you know. I mean, he already came up with the RBI single at Dodger Stadium earlier in the year. Walk-off against Mason freaking Miller earlier this year. The homers at Fenway. I mean, he's come through. The diving catch today. To hit a homer in that spot, oh my goodness. And that pitch, it's not like that was an easy pitch to hit, right? That pitch broke. That reminded me of the Mason Miller home run that Merrill hit. It wasn't a walk-off today, but it was huge, freaking huge. In front of, by the way, a record attendance, I should say. 47,559. And don't let that other fan base that we were playing tonight say that, oh, the record happened because it was against that team. No, there was a record set against the freaking Diamondbacks, and it was not very far off from what the record was tonight. Padres fans have been showing up all year. I think this was the 33rd sellout of the season. So don't let that fan base say that, oh, it was them. That's why. No, it wasn't. Was there a lot of Dodger fans there? Yeah, that happens every series. But Padres fans showed up. And by the way, another hilarious thing was after the walk-off happens, they show the third base side, and it's just Dodger fans streaming up the steps, just leaving as Padre fans are celebrating after the walk-off win. Just amazing. Oh, man. I don't know where else to go from this. Like, Manny, he is the captain of this team. We need him to step up. We need him to perform well if we want to go where we want to go. And he's doing that. He's playing third base regularly now. He's not just, DHing and playing third base every once in a while. That catch that he made over the dugout railing, you got to realize how hard that freaking catch is. He's sprinting in, and he was blowing a bubble, by the way, of course. But he's running in, and he almost hit the corner of the dugout, or it jets out. There's the corner of the dugout, but then there's the camera well there. He almost hits that corner, and then he has to still concentrate to go make that catch, and maybe he's worried a little bit about where he's going to fall into the dugout if that thought crossed his mind for, a quarter of a second. So there was that. Then he's running backwards, slanted backwards to go make that catch that was at an awkward angle later in the game. And then, the homer off of Glasnow to take him oppo. And then that homer that he hit off of Trinan, that looked like batting practice. I mean, that was just the one-hand finish. Obviously, Merrill, how clutch he is. That guy is freaking legit. That guy, if he's not a Padre for the rest of his career, I'm going to be very disappointed. And we got to give props to AJ for, again, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. He was the one guy that didn't get traded in that Soto deal. They traded Wood. They traded Hassel. And look where Hassel is. He's still in the minors. Jackson Merrill's in the big leagues, and he's one of the best outfielders in Major League Baseball. So props to AJ for that. Props to Merrill for the work that he puts in, the development of Jackson Merrill. Man. Obviously, Profar with what he did tonight, Crony coming through. And then Donovan Solano. Obviously, I got to talk about Donovan Solano. Donnie barrels going down the third baseline there. When Donnie came up to pinch hit, I thought the Padres were going to win the game. I just didn't know how. There was one out. Luis Arraez, props to him. I don't want to just gloss over that. Luis Arraez getting that bunt down. And yeah, that was the right. Sure, it's Luis Arraez, bat to ball. Maybe, he had the walk-off earlier this year against the Dodgers, by the way, his first game at Petco Park as a Padre. So it's like, maybe let him swing. But when you have no outs and you can get second and third and it's the top of the lineup up, you take that opportunity. A sac fly scores a run and you win the game. You take that chance. So I was totally fine with the bunt by Arraez. And so second and third, one out. Solano pinch hits. Dave Roberts doesn't know the rules, makes an idiot of himself. And Solano just takes the ball down the line and Padres win. What a moment. There's been so many moments just for individual players, right? Like how many players on this, and I'm talking about position players because there's been moments for pitchers as well, but position players, how many guys have had their moment this year? There's a bunch. Profar has had multiple. Manny's had multiple. I mean, Arraez, obviously. Solano. Higashioka, even, Tatis with the 8-0 comeback against the Cubs. I mean, there's so many guys that have had their moments this season. And this is reminding me of 2022 with all the walk-offs that they had that year and all the great moments they had that year, winning in extra innings. They were able to beat the Dodgers in some amazing moments. Crony had a great walk-off, I believe, that year as well at Petco. It was a City Connect night. I remember that. Like, this team feels like that. They're fighting. They're a real team. They're not giving up when you're down 5-0. You get punched in the mouth in the first inning. It's easy to sit there and be like, all right, it's not our night. We got Dylan Cease on the mound tomorrow. Let's go win that game. No, this team, you got plenty of at-bats. You've come down from an 8-0 deficit. I think they came from 6-0 at one point this year as well to come back. You've done it. 5-0 and Glass now on the mound. It's okay. You can still come back from that. And they did it. My goodness. I feel like there's so many times this year where we're like, oh, that's the win of the year. That's the win of the year. I don't know if this is the win of the year. I think of that D-backs walk-off, the Manny walk-off, because it was a walk-off home run, not just a walk-off hit. But there were a couple of home runs today by Manny, homer by Merrill. Like, there was great moments today. The fact that it was against the Dodgers, there was the Arise walk-off, there was the 8-0 comeback against the Cubs. That's hard to beat. But this one's against the Dodgers, and I don't care if that fan base wants to get at me. Like, yeah, these games do mean more to us fans because it is against the Dodgers. It's 1 of 162, but it feels like more than that. And you can get on us for that. I don't care. I don't care. I care about me having fun with Padres fans about this win. Like, that's what I'm trying to do tonight. But yeah, nothing better than a Dodger choke job, huh? That was freaking fun to watch. That would have sucked, going into tomorrow if they would have gotten shut out 5-0, but we don't have to worry about that. Padres, they upgrade their bullpen. We'll talk about that. Man, what a freaking night that was. And Peter Seidler's wife, Sheil, was sitting, I believe, in their seats right by the dugout. I saw that during the Merrill home run celebration. So, Peter, I hope you have the biggest freaking smile on your face after what happened today. We know Peter was someone that wanted to win, didn't care what it cost. He wanted to win. And the Padres made some moves for that today. He cared so much about beating that team up north, and the Padres did that today. So what a freaking day. What a day. I'm seeing people in the chat that John says he tapped out in the 8th. Yeah, there were probably some people that fell asleep. Or maybe you were still watching the game, but, it's been a long day for you at work, so you probably just fell asleep. And maybe there was someone sitting on the couch that made some noise, or you heard Don's voice on the call and that woke you up, and you're like, oh crap, what did I just miss? Well, you can go back and watch it. I'm just trying to go through social media here. I don't want to miss something here. Let's play Don Orsillo's walk-off. Or here, actually, I'll play the home run calls, the Manny homers, the Merrill homer, and then I'll play the walk-off call for those that did miss it. Let's start with the first Manny homer.
Center field, Pauley going back at the wall. It's off the top of the wall and gone. Manny Machado goes deep for the 15th time of the year. Padres on the board.
All right, so not super enthusiastic by Don, but it was 5-1 at that time, even with the Manny homer. Now, let's go to the second Manny home run. Hang on, trying to find it.
High drive, deep left field for Manny. It's back, and it's very gone. One-run game after one swing of the bat in the 9th inning. Second home run of the night for Manny Machado.
Whoa, that's the first time I'm watching this, obviously, as I'm playing this for you. When Manny homers, there's literally a Dodger fan in left center. I'm rewatching this again. They showed the crowd reaction. It's a Dodger uniform. He's waving a towel after Manny homered. It's like some of these are like San Diegan Dodger fans that want to be a Padre fan. Almost. That's what it feels like. Crazy. Maybe he was excited his friend got the ball. Maybe that's why, but that's nuts. If I was sitting there I was sitting at Dodger Stadium wearing a Padre jersey, I wouldn't be doing that because I wouldn't want to risk getting, beat up. I don't want my life to end. But if I was doing that in an opponent's stadium and someone homered like that in a big situation, ninth inning, I would not be waving around my towel like I'm excited that that guy homered. So that's a crazy reaction right there. Here's Merrill's home.
High drive, deep right field. Pauley's back at the wall. Merrill madness. Jackson Merrill tied the game with a home run. All tied at 5.
That atmosphere was freaking electric. Holy cow. All right, so that's what I've got on today's game. I'll actually go through the chat real quick because I'm sure there's a lot of reactions to this game. And then I'll get into what happened this whole trade deadline and give my thoughts on that because I've got a lot to say on that. Enrique says, I love this team. C-dubs, let's freaking go, boys. What a game. Arise, singles, LFGSD. Eddie, LFGSD. C-dub says, my voice is gone now. You're probably not the only one. C-dubs, I'm listening to 97.3 The Fan and Ben at the same time. Appreciate it. We just witnessed greatness. We did, yeah. That was greatness right there. Irie says Mike definitely got into Dave Roberts' head there at the end, proving that he straight got out managed. Is that right? 7 walk-offs this year, 7 different Padres. Let me try to remember these by memory. So, Arise, Merrill, Higgy, Solano, Manny. That's 5. Who am I forgetting? Tatis, he hasn't had one, right? That was on a walk-off, that Cubs game. Who am I forgetting? This is the good thing. Like, if I'm forgetting it, that's good. That means there's so many of them this year. Like, it shows that this team is different. And they're the comeback kids. Yeah, Rookie of the Year, Jackson. How much value he's providing to the Padres? I get it. Paul Skeens, the name, his girlfriend, the stats. I get it. And we're biased, but impact, and I know this isn't the Rookie of the Year isn't MVP Rookie of the Year. It's just Rookie of the Year, so it's probably by stats. But, man, the impact that he's having on an actual contending team, the Pirates are not going to be a postseason team. The Padres, I sure hope, I feel like they are. I would be shocked at this point if they're not going to make the postseason. So I think that should provide some value. That should give Jackson some points. Tyler says he scared the crap out of his pregnant sleeping wife and 2 small dogs when he jumped off the couch yelling and clapping. Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're not the only one that did that. Luckily, my family was still, well, never mind. I don't want to call her out. But look, my family was still, they weren't in bed. I'll put it that way. So, yeah, it was amazing. I knew I had a show, so I wasn't like screaming when it happened, but I was internally screaming, if that makes sense. All right. Quick break, and then I will get to what happened during this trade deadline because, that happened before this game. A lot happened today. Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. Some of the other great partners of the show, Breaking Tea, Padres, Aztec shirts and sweatshirts. Click that link in the description. They've got Profar. I'm wearing the Mr. Relevant shirt right now. They've got that. They've got Merrill shirts, maybe they'll make a Solano shirt. They'll probably make some new shirts of guys that the Padres acquired if there's a big moment there. Underdog Fantasy, 50% deposit match up to $250, and you will get to claim a special pick. First-time users, code Talking Friars, same code for SeatGeek, $20 off your first order when you sign up with that code Talking Friars with your email. They tell you if it's a good value, bad value on your seat, please take advantage of that. Trying to help you out. All right, let's get to the trade deadline and what happened today. Going into today, was not expecting the Padres to acquire an all-star reliever. Was not expecting Tanner Scott to be a Padre. There were rumblings about Jack Flaherty. There were rumblings, Dennis Lynn wrote a piece this morning, mentioned Cal Quantrill. Jack Flaherty was a name. Tyler Anderson, I think, was a name. There were names out there. But as we saw before deadline day, there were some significant transactions. You say Kikuchi goes to the Astros, big haul that was given back to the Blue Jays. And maybe that prevented the Padres from going out and getting someone like Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty, by the way, goes to the Dodgers. We'll get more into the other moves that happened around Major League Baseball here in a little bit. But just sticking with the Padres, I was expecting a back end of the rotation starter, not named Martin Perez. I was not expecting Martin Perez. I mean, let's face it, I have nothing against Martin Perez, but he's not someone that the Padres are planning on using come October, right? Something would have to go wrong, I would think. Or he's pitching really well, so I guess that would be a good thing. But he has a 5.20 ERA this year, negative WAR, a 1.651 WHIP. Like, that's terrible. 83 innings, 63 strikeouts. So this is a guy that maybe is on the same level as Randy Vasquez. Maybe Vasquez is actually ahead of him. It's a depth starter. And I was hoping if this was going to happen, let's say they acquired Martin Perez, I was hoping it would be someone else too, like Tyler Anderson and Martin Perez. So you get someone that you can put into the rotation better than Vasquez, and you get another depth arm. Especially when you have like no depth in the minor leagues now with your starting pitching because of who you dealt. Adam Mazur is gone. Dylan Lesko is gone. Robby Snelling is gone. And so let's get into just the full trades recap of everything that happened, every Padres trade leading up to the deadline. I'm including Jason Adam because this was, the last few days. So the Rays, they get Dylan Lesko, Homer Bush Jr., and JD Gonzalez. Padres, they get Jason Adam. And he is going to be one of the high leverage relievers for Mike Shildt. Another trade. The Padres, they give the Marlins Adam Mazur, Jay Beshears, Robby Snelling, and Graham Pauley, former guest of the show. And the Marlins give the Padres Tanner Scott and Bryan Hoeing. And Hoeing is going to be another depth arm. I don't know if he's going to be in the minors or is he going to be like the last guy in the bullpen and be able to pitch. He's been able to pitch 3 innings at a time. So maybe there's that. Another trade. Enyel de los Santos to, there's a lot of fans that were jumping for joy when they saw that. He's no longer with the Padres. He's a Yankee. Thomas Balboni Jr. also goes to the Yankees in this deal. The Padres get back Brandon Lockridge, an outfielder. Seems like just a depth outfielder, sort of like Bryce Johnson. So there was that one. And then Padres, they get Martin Perez from the Pirates, and the Padres give the Pirates Ronaldis Jimenez. So those are all the deals. Now, let's get to, I think, the big question here that I saw. Did the Padres give up too much for Tanner Scott and Bryan Hoeing? Really, Tanner Scott. Because there's a lot of fans, obviously, that look at Tanner Scott, great pitcher, but he's a rental. And so why are you giving up Adam Mazur, a depth guy, Graham Pauley, who could be something, but really Robby Snelling? You already traded Dylan Lesko. That was already something that some fans didn't like. You trade Dylan Lesko to the Rays for a reliever. And you traded more, by the way. Then you trade Robby Snelling to the Marlins. So now you don't have your top 2 pitching prospects that you were hoping might be frontline starters one day for you. Those two guys are gone, and the main pieces you got back were two relievers. One was a rental, and another is a guy that some fans probably had never heard of. That could be a guy walking on the street past you, and you wouldn't know who that was. That's from some fans' perspective. What I would say to that is the Padres, they're trying to win right now. Robby Snelling and Dylan Lesko are having bad years. They're not performing. They're not developing, I don't think, the way that the Padres were hoping for. Dylan Lesko's command is not there. The Rays could fix him. He could be Tyler Glass now. But the Padres, they're trying to win right now. Lesko and Snelling aren't going to help that right now. They might not have helped that next season either. Jason Adam is multiple years of control. Tanner Scott, it's 1 year. But guess what? Now, instead of 3 of your, let's say, 8 relievers being guys that you could rely upon and you want to go to, now you have a majority of your bullpen as guys that you want to go to and you can trust. It went from 3 to 5 guys today, or through this deadline. Now, your bullpen, there's 5 guys there. Suarez, Estrada, Morajón, Adam, and Scott. Scott, all-star for the Marlins. Suarez, all-star for the Padres. Estrada can close games, can pitch in high-leverage situations, as we saw against the Dodgers. Jason Adam, just look at the numbers that he has had with the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays fixed him, and he seems stoked, by the way, to be with the Padres, obviously, coming from the Rays who were selling. Jason Adam, by the way, his last 3 seasons with the Tampa Bay Rays, all sub-3 ERA seasons, 164 and 2/3 innings. His ERA plus was 70% above league average. Want to go to Tanner Scott? Tanner Scott, by the way, he has some numbers that are better than Robert Suarez this season. His ERA is 1.18, better than Robert Suarez this year. 44 games, more innings pitched, 53 punch-outs. His whip is barely above 1. Suarez, I believe, has a little bit better of a whip. But these two guys, you need Suarez to have a day off. Tanner Scott can be your closer. How much of a luxury is that? And come postseason time, we know starters don't go as long as they do in the regular season. They don't have a long leash, especially in those winner-take-all games. So let's say now, instead of hoping that your starter can give you 6 innings and then you can go 7, 8, 9 and not have to go to Yuki Matsui or someone like that. Now, 5 innings, you don't want, let's say you don't want your starter, Dylan Cease, whoever. You don't want that guy facing a lineup a 3rd time. And let's say you get through that lineup twice, have success. Let's say you pitch into the 6th inning, or even you go 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 4 relievers, and you have 5 that I named there. With Suarez, Estrada, Morajón, Adam, and Scott. You could pitch 4 guys there, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th to close it down. Extra innings, you have another guy there. You want to go on matchups to get out of an inning, you can go there. And by the way, Yuki Matsui hasn't even been terrible. There's been bad stretches, but he hasn't been terrible. So that's another lefty. Wandy Peralta, who knows, but that's another lefty if he comes off the IL. So getting back to the question, did the Padres give up too much? I mean, that's to be determined, right? Just like the time of the Soto deal, to be determined. We'll see. But for a team that's trying to win right now, I like it. I wish that they didn't give up. I wish Preller didn't give up Lesko and Snelling. That hurts. But I'm trying to win right now. Like, I care about this Padres team right now. Who knows what the health of the big guys that are here long-term is going to be in 3-4 years. You have an opportunity. We've seen teams make a wild card and then they go on a run to the World Series. Get into the postseason. You have the pitching. I think the Padres have the rotation. It's just a matter of health. I think they have the rotation, and they definitely have the bullpen to get to the World Series. They do, in my opinion. But the big thing is going to be health. They have an offense that can string together hits. They have an offense. You get down, you can come back and go win games. And by the way, you have a pitching staff that if you get down, they're not going to allow more runs after that, as we saw in this first Dodgers game. So, did they give up too much? I don't know. We'll see. If you want to make the argument that they did give up too much, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I mean, that's not a strong argument because they gave up a ton. But for a team that's trying to win, where would the Padres be if AJ Preller didn't go get Dylan Cease, Luis Ariz, Michael King, if we go back to the Soto deal, right? Kyle Higashioka even. Tanner Scott, we'll see. Adam, we'll see. If you didn't go out and get those guys, Dylan Cease, where would the Padres be without those guys? So, yeah, the Padres, they have lost Dylan Lesko. They've lost Adam Mazur. They've lost Graham Pauley. They've lost Robby Snelling, Nate Martorella, Jacob Marcy. I'm probably forgetting some. They've lost a lot of guys. And then you can add on, Hassel, Wood, Gore, Abrams, all those guys. How much have the Padres lost? How much has AJ Preller given away in the past few years? But on the other side, I would say, well, look what the Padres have gotten. They've gotten some of the best relievers in baseball. They have probably the best back end of a bullpen in baseball now. They have Dylan Cease, who has Cy Young stuff. They have Luis Ariz. I mean, and then by trading Soto, by the way, you don't want to trade Soto, the talent of that. But by the way, you have Jurickson Profar that you brought back, who is an all-star and should be under MVP consideration. Made room for Jackson Merrill, the guy that you kept in that Soto trade, the first Soto trade, and look what he has done. He's going to get Rookie of the Year votes. It created room. And then in that deal, by the way, you get Michael King. Like, there's so many pieces that AJ Preller has gotten here from the moves that he has made. And prospects are prospects. These guys could turn out to be really good. But again, like I said the other day, it's a trade. The other team would not do the trade unless they like the package that they got back from the Padres. And some would be like, where's the farm system now? The Padres, they better win now because there's going to be no future. But AJ Preller, he's continued to rebuild the farm system and get players in that farm system that other teams want and they're willing to give up their star players for. So again, did the Padres give up too much? TBD. But right now, I like what the Padres have done. I wish that they would have gotten a better starter than Martin Perez, but I feel like I'm nitpicking considering that they got Dylan Cease to begin the year. They could get Joe Musgrove back. They could get Yu Darvish back. We'll see, when Tatis returns. The bullpen, it's so huge in October. Look back to the Kansas City Royals in 2015. Look back to the Cleveland Indians at that point in 2016. And the studs they had. The Giants when they won. I know Mad Bum carried sometimes, but the bullpen that they had. Just look back to those years, and there's a common theme. That bullpen was amazing and was a huge part in those teams' successes. We see it almost every year. I mean, the Phillies, I know they didn't win the World Series, but we saw it firsthand, the bullpen that they had with Sir Anthony Dominguez and Castillo, just how nasty those guys were, right? Alvarado, I believe, was in that pen. So the Padres, if they get a lead and they have Cease, King, Musgrove, we'll see with Waldron. We'll see if they get Darvish back. Remember how Musgrove and Darvish pitched in the postseason in 2022? If they can get those guys back and they have that rotation, remember the rotation in the postseason is going to be 3-4 guys. And then you have a bullpen that you can go five guys that could close games if you need them to. Morhone could close. Estrada could close. These, at least if you're going to nitpick and say one guy can't close, they can at least pitch the 8th inning in a high leverage situation. 5 guys. Yuki has done that this year as well. That's a 6th. So for a team that's trying to win, it is very easy for me to love what the Padres have done. And you might be a little bit down on the deadline because, again, they didn't get that starter. But I think it's important to remember everything they've done this year. They got a big-time starter. Dylan Cease. They got the biggest starter of them all. There's no starter available at the dead. Jack Flaherty's not Dylan Cease. Jack Flaherty's having a good year. We'll see what happens with the Dodgers. But Dylan Cease, to me, that guy is special. That guy can go 7 innings in a postseason game. We'll see if Flaherty would do it. He might have to with this Dodgers bullpen that they have. But man, this is quite a bullpen that AJ Preller has assembled. And this is one of his strong suits. Is regardless of the situation the Padres are in, he has a strong back end of the bullpen, and this is probably the strongest back end of the bullpen that he's ever had. Sure, Josh Hader, Robert Suarez in 22, but again, it's 5 deep before we even get to someone like Yuki Matsui. 5 deep. It's a lot that they gave up, but prospects are prospects. I'd rather have a GM going for it, trying to win, than a GM that sits there and says, nah, I'm good. I'm good with the bullpen we have. Let's just hope that these guys work. Let's hope that our bridge guys are good enough. No, go get it. Go improve your team. And that's what the Padres did. That's what AJ Preller and his team did. Props to them. And you're telling me this clubhouse didn't love those moves? Of course they did. When a GM goes out there and makes big moves like that, acquires an all-star, acquires one of the best setup men in baseball the last 3 years, that gets a clubhouse pumped up. Like, our leader, our GM believes in us. We know the manager already does. So it's huge. I know I kind of rambled all over the place there. My apologies, but that was some of my thoughts there. Now, another question about AJ Preller. Is this a must-win season for AJ Preller? Like, do the Padres have to go on a long run for AJ Preller to keep his job because of how much he gave up? Because who is the top pitching prospect in the farm system now? You don't have Lesko. You don't have Snelling. You don't have Mazur. You gave up Pauley. You gave up Iriarte. You gave up Thorpe. I didn't mention those guys earlier, right? Martorella, Marcy, all these prospects, right? You go back to the Soto deal, and Gore you gave up, and you Hassel and Wood and Susanna, who's throwing like 103 now in the minors. So much talent that you've given up. Do you have to win this year? And my answer to that is you have to make the postseason. If you don't make the postseason, then it's kind of like, well, if you're a contender, don't you have to fire AJ if you don't make the postseason? I know he's under contract, but come on. If he makes the postseason, even if they don't do anything in the postseason, when a team makes the postseason, unless you're the Marlins, and Kim Eng didn't want to be there, really, because she wasn't given enough of what she wanted, enough control. She wasn't allowed to spend, is what it seemed like. That was different. But when a team makes the postseason, and when you have the talent evaluation skills the Padres scouting department has, led by AJ, usually you don't change DMs. And I know if they don't go on a run, it's going to be like, well, this is another year, a lot of talent on the team, and they didn't go on a long run. The one long postseason run that AJ has been on was 2022. That's it. One long run. That's it. And that will be 2 postseason appearances in 10 years. 10 full seasons, in 9 full years, if you don't want to count 2020, right? Like, when is it enough? But if you want to go with a new GM, let's remember you're parting with the best talent evaluator in the game, arguably. Someone that, trades prospects, but someone that continues to build a team that attracts fans, sells out the ballpark, night in, night out, which we know Eric Grutner loves and the Padres love because it brings in money. An entertaining GM. I mean, he is the most entertaining GM in baseball. You're getting rid of that. And if they make the postseason, then that's 2 postseason appearances in the last 3 years. So you could sell that if you're AJ. You're getting rid of that. And how are you going to build up the farm system? You're not going to have as much success as AJ would. I guarantee you that. So it's like, I'm not saying if the Padres they make the postseason and then they don't do anything. I'm not saying they would rebuild, trade away a bunch of pieces and rebuild. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like the new GM that you'd bring in, let's say AJ goes, the new GM's going to be hamstrung by the contracts already. And then he's going to have the farm system. He's not going to have a ton of talent to deal with there if you want to make trades. You probably want the guy that knows all these prospects, the scout from, the best scout out there. You probably want that and his scouting team to still be running the team. It's one of those where it's like, you've been so far out there, you've traveled so far out there, swam so far out there in the water, like there's no coming back, I was thinking about this driving during work today. I was trying to think of an analogy, whatever it's called. I know this is like Colin Cowherd, totally. But, you want to save up for a new car. Let's say you want to save up for a new car, right? Well, you need to keep your current car in shape though, right? Like you need to get to work every day. And so what's a priority more? The car that you want to save up for in the future that you don't have the money for right now, or the car that you have right now that gets you to work and back and get you through life? You need to maintain that car and you need to pay for the oil change. And, if something's wrong with the car, your brakes, you need to get that taken care of instead of saving money for a car in the future, because you need to take care of now. You need to take care of today. And that's what AJ Preller and the Padres are doing, right? They needed improvements to their car, and so they're doing that. And they can save for a new car. They can worry about getting a new car down the road. They need to fix their car. They need to improve their car so that they don't have to make another payment. Well, you can't make another payment if we're going with this analogy here. You can't make a payment in another couple of months. This is it. So you had to spend money making your car, putting your car into the best condition possible, because you can't do it anymore for the rest of the year. So hopefully you get what I'm saying there, but this is what they've done. And so if they miss the postseason, then yeah, I'm on the train of like, yeah, it's unacceptable here. What's happening? But if you want to rebuild the farm and you want to go with the sustainability and you want to get younger, who's the best guy for that? It's AJ Preller. It's not the next guy that you're bringing in, right? In terms of drafting that talent, it's that guy. But you're also in the primes of Xander and Crony and getting into the prime of Tatis. You're in the prime of Manny and Musgrove. Who knows how many more effective years Darvish has. You have Suarez under contract, Estrada young, Merrill Young not making anything. Like, you got to capitalize here with a longer than NLCS run is what we want, right? And so if you're AJ, or if you're the Padres, regardless of really what happens, like, there's a case to be made that AJ is the guy. Like, there's no coming back here for the next, AJ's contract really through 2026. There's no coming back here. While we would want change if we don't get the desired result of this year, again, the next guy coming in would just be hamstrung, wouldn't know the situation the Padres are in as good as AJ, wouldn't know the prospects in the farm system as good as AJ, wouldn't be as good at drafting as AJ, probably. They'd probably want to bring in a whole new scouting staff that probably wouldn't be as good all around as AJ's staff right now. Maybe I'm making the case too hard for AJ, but I'm just saying, like, right now, I don't see AJ Preller being gone at the end of the year. The more I talk about it, the more I think about this, it feels like AJ is going to be here. I don't think that this is a must-win year. Yeah, you got to make the postseason, but in terms of, like, you got to go to the World Series, as much as I'd like that, I'm just saying for AJ to keep his job, I don't think they have to go to the World Series for AJ to keep his job. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I feel about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But there's no doubt, like, the stars that are on this team, the stars that keep being acquired, that has something to do with, like, the attendance, the fan excitement. And yeah, ideally, would you like more minor leaguers to come up, homegrown guys like Jackson Merrill to come up and be stars and not be making any money? Yeah. But I think we also got to bring up AJ Preller has done a good job of the guys that he's acquired that are really impactful players. They're not making much money. Luis Ariz, the Marlins paid down his contract, I believe, this year. Padres just have to pay the prorated minimum. Jason Adam isn't making really anything. Tanner Scott isn't really making anything, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. So, like, the guys that the Padres are bringing in here aren't making a whole lot. So it's not like AJ's bringing in a guy making $30 million, a superstar making 30 mil. No, he's bringing in a guy that's a star impact player, maybe not the biggest name, but impact player, and he's making less than $5 million. So he's not going totally reckless here with the amount of money that he's bringing in either. Some might say he's being reckless with the prospects that he's giving up, but it's not like Lesko and Snelling, for example. It's not like they were having sub-2 ERAs or sub-3 ERAs this year. There's still concerning things with those guys, and it wasn't headed in the right direction. It seems like, especially with Dylan Lesko, it wasn't headed in the right direction. You're trying to win right now. Those guys aren't going to help you. And 2 of the 3 guys in the outfield are going to be here long term. So Homer Bush Jr., you're going to send him to the Rays when you can get multiple years of control of a guy that's one of the best setup men in baseball, in Jason Adam. So overall, how would I grade this deadline? I'd probably grade it a B+. Maybe I should go A-, but B+, A- is probably where I would go, because the bullpen is so huge. I know starting pitching was something that we wanted, other than Martin Perez, right? Preferably, like I said earlier, I wish they would have gotten like a Tyler Anderson, someone bigger than Martin Perez, someone better than Martin Perez, and then you bring in Martin Perez, let's say, right? If that would have happened, I would have given it probably an A+, because of the guys that, or maybe an A, because they did give up a lot in prospects. But in terms of upgrading this big league roster, you made your bullpen better, and now it's 5 deep of high leverage guys that you can trust, at least on paper right now. You acquired a depth arm in Martin Perez. We'll see what happens there. You cleared room by shipping off Enyel de los Santos, who was making salary. And by the way, Enyel de los Santos, I think that his salary is just going to be replaced by someone who's way better than him for this year, So pitching was a need. You got it. You got it earlier in the year with Cease. You got it now with the bullpen additions. You made multiple bullpen additions. We'll see what the other guy, what's his name? Hoeing? Yeah, Bryan Hoeing. We'll see what he gives. But yeah, the only ding I would give, so probably a B+, is that he didn't get a starter better than Martin Perez. But other than that, there wasn't a big time bat out there that I was like, yep, you got to go get that guy. Because look at the situation they're in. Donovan Solano's not getting everyday at bats. You've got Luis Ariz already. Cronenworth, Xander's hot, Kim, Manny, Merrill, Profar, Toddy when he comes back. Like, there was not a big time bat where I'm like, yeah, trade a bunch of more prospects to bring that bat in. No, you got Solano on the bench. That's a pretty darn good luxury to have. You've got a vet in David Peralta. You could bring up Tercer Ornelas if you need to at some point. So it was pitching, and AJ got some really talented pitching. So props to him. Props to the scouting staff. Another deadline where the Padres get guys that I was not thinking of. Sure, Jason Adam was on that passing list that I had a video about, but wasn't really dialed in on him. Wasn't thinking about Tanner Scott. I thought, Dodgers or Orioles, someone else was going to get Tanner Scott because he was the best reliever available going into today. Sub 2 ERA, sub what? 1.3 ERA, 1.18 ERA. And don't look at the saves because he was pitching for the freaking Marlins. But Jason Adam, by the way, looking at his game logs, he has not allowed an earned run since June 13th. His last 17 games, he has a 0 ERA. Opponents are hitting .091 off of him. And he may not even be the closer. It seems like Spores is still going to be the closer. It's nuts. It reminds me of the Cleveland bullpen with Andrew Miller and, what was his name? Cody Allen? Because he was actually the closer, right? It wasn't Andrew Miller. Andrew Miller was the, I'll pitch whenever you need me. I'll come in the 5th inning if you need me to, Terry Francona. We'll see who that guy ends up being. Maybe that'll be Tanner Scott. Maybe it'll be Jason Adam. Who knows? Maybe it'll be Morahone. I could see Estrada actually taking on that role, to be honest. But it reminds me totally of that bullpen that they had there. It's interesting. It was an exciting day. I was working during the deadline, so I didn't see the tweets exactly as it came out like I usually did in years past. But, man, I saw those moves, and I was excited. It was kind of the same feeling that I got at, the Jason Adam deal the other day. I saw the guy that we got. I was like, oh, yeah, we got that guy. But then I saw the return. I'm like, ooh. But then I go look, because I'm positive, I go look at the guy we acquired, and I look at the numbers, and I'm like, holy crap. Look at what this bullpen is now. Just get to the postseason, and this team will have a very good shot of going deep. Just get there. Just freaking get there. Right now, by the way, for anyone that cares, I'm still not there where I'm like, NL West, here we come. But they just beat the Dodgers. They got that, head-to-head there. By the way, they're winning the season series against the Dodgers, too. 58-51, 5.5 back of the Dodgers for the division. Dodgers are banged up. Padres are, too, as well, by the way. And then in the wild card race, Braves have the first spot. Mets are tied with us for the second spot. Mets are 57-50, Padres 58-51. Braves with that first spot, a half game up on us, 57-49. D-backs are a half game back. Pirates are 2 games back, but I don't expect them to be a big threat come end of September. Cardinals, they've made some interesting moves, though. They got Pham and Fetty. They're 2 games back. Giants, I don't count them. They traded Jorge Soler. They didn't trade Snell, but the line for me is drawn at the Cardinals. Cardinals, Pirates, D-backs, Padres, Mets, Braves. Those are the teams I'm looking at. The Reds could surprise. Cubs could surprise. But Cubs are even 7 games back. I mean, the Giants, it's just... Hopefully Bob Melvin's happy. He always wanted to be managing that Giants team, right? Hopefully he is happy managing the Giants. I'm happy Schultz, the manager of our team. I'll tell you that. All right, let's get to the chat. By the way, I did say that I was going to drop that link. For those that are still watching, I just put the link in. So just scroll down. You'll see the link. If you want to join the show, you have thoughts, feel free. Give your thoughts. Please be respectful. Please come on to talk about baseball, not be an idiot. And I'll get to some other moves that happen around baseball as well. Just want to get to the chat here. Let's see here. Tyler says, I'll get to you, Parker, here in a second. Tyler said, Dodgers fans like to act like they're losing to the Padres doesn't matter, but how quickly they like to talk S when it goes the other way. Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, there's so many fans that keep showing up for the regular season games, but then then it's like they want to get on us when they're like, well, this is your World Series. Why are you showing up to all these regular season games at an opponent's ballpark then, Like, come on now. They like to have it both ways. Any updates on Nando's? So the update is that he's not running. Excuse me. Schilt didn't say anything that he's running. He's throwing. He's hitting, but it seems like he still has a ways to go, a little bit to go before he can run. And then there's going to be rehab games, I would imagine. So him, I'm looking. It seems like it would be latter half of August. So that's the update I've got there. All right, Parker, what's up, man?
How's man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, yeah. It was insane day today.
Totally insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, whole day I was like, okay, we're gonna make a move. About an hour, 30 minutes left. I'm just kind of refreshing Twitter, and then boom, I see it, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, Tanner Scott. I was like, oh my, that's insane. The first thing I see is Padres. I was like, okay, who do we get? Who do we get? Tanner Scott. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I made sure it was like Marlins, Tanner Scott. Look at the numbers. Insane. And then obviously, we give up a lot, but I'm cool with it. I know a lot of people weren't, and I think is it Hoeing guy? I don't think. I mean, he has 30 innings pitched. 2.7 ERA, not anything crazy, but I mean, he could be a good player. So yeah,
It's impactful. Yeah.
yeah. And
And
this,
what I'll say before I let you continue, what I'll say that I forgot to mention, just about like we're fans. I feel like, and I've gotten caught up in this as well. I'll totally admit it. We as fans get caught up in trying to GM, and it's like we don't make those decisions, a few years down. Let's worry about that later. Let's enjoy that our team is making moves to get better. We have an amazing back end of the bullpen on paper. We've got talent on this team. We have talent to go on a long postseason run. We do. Health is going to be a big factor. So for me, it's like I'm going to enjoy the heck out of this. This team is so freaking fun to watch. Mud said it during the broadcast today, and I couldn't agree more about how fun this team is to watch. And we'll worry about 3 to 4 years down the road. 3 to 4 years down the road. Let's
yeah,
let's let's be happy about what's happening now. Um, let's we, for anyone that's still attached to prospects, except Leo and Ethan. Like I understand being attached to them, but being attached to prospects, it's like I guess we got to learn our lesson. And I've gotten attached to Lesko and Snelling too, but like I wasn't super attached to them. I didn't want both of them gone, but like they're prospects. And we got to realize don't get too attached. If you haven't learned the lesson, don't get too attached to these guys because they're not going to be here. For the most part, there's a large percentage chance that they're not going to be here. So you could be enjoying their Lake Elsinore games, but they're probably going to be gone, in a few years by the time that they could reach the big leagues.
yeah,
But guess what? We're going to have a new star that you're going to love. And that prospect may or may not turn out. So I'm just enjoying it, really.
yeah. It's not guaranteed that we won't get Scott next year. Like we could still
True.
sign him. So I mean, that's it depends also how we do in the postseason if he wants to stay. The only thing I was a little upset is how cheap the Dodgers got Jack Flaherty. It was their third best, or not the third number 3 prospect, and then 28, I believe, prospect. I'm pretty sure it was just 2 guys. Maybe I read that wrong, but I didn't feel like it was very much. Um,
Yeah, I'm looking up the trade deadline tracker right now just to go through some of these big moves here. I'm trying to look up that. Yeah, so I have no idea. I know who Trey Sweeney is, but I
mhm,
don't know who the heck Theron Lirianzo is. I saw a tweet, I think it was from Passan, that was the Dodgers like number 3 and number 12 maybe prospects. Could be wrong on that.
mhm.
So it was significant,
Yeah,
but if we're going based off of that, then the Padres could have gotten Jack Flaherty. I mean, look at what they gave up for the rental, and then Hoeing, who is not a rental. Um, they could have gotten Flaherty, but I think, look, the Padres get to the postseason, and the Padres, they had their sight on how are we going to get through the postseason. There are
Yeah.
some teams that are built to get there and then they're not going to go through. How can we get through? And the Padres right now, the question is get to there. How are you going to get to the postseason? But getting through it, AJ made Schilt's job way easier from the work that he did with this deadline.
Yeah, so I live up in Missouri, so the game started at 8:40 for me. And so I'm watching it on MLB Network. I pay like I don't know, was it like $20 a month, I think, for the Padres, like watch every game that they have.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching it first inning. I was like, okay, my goal is Waldron, it's been a little shaky the past couple starts. 3 earned runs. I think we can that's like my max. Like don't try not to go over that. And then I I like whenever I watch games and like they start losing, I never like just stop watching it at all because I know what this team is like. I'll like take a second to maybe stop watching 2 innings if it's early, just to take a second. And so I was watching it, and they put up the 5 spot, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I watching right now? What is happening? I was like, if this is, I was trying to like think positive as well. Like if this is the game we're gonna lose in the series, I thought it would be this one. And then Machado hits the home run, and I was like, I love seeing Machado get hit. So I was like, okay. Then we kind of get it up to, what was it, 5-3 going into the ninth. And I was telling myself, like, it's not over. I mean, like, I've seen this happen. And I watched Machado first pitch. Oh my gosh, just cranked it. But I try not to get too hyped because, like, we're still losing. It's not like we tied the game. We're still
Yeah.
losing. And so I'm trying to be like, okay, we still got a lot of work to do. And then Merrill, that was insane. And I was like, Merrill's the guy that has to get a hit because then you got Peralta, Kim, and Higashioka. Merrill, I need him to at least get on base. And then, phenomenal job by the bullpen. I noticed this. I haven't heard anyone talk about this. Is that I love seeing. Normally, when we go into extra innings, it's not Suarez that pitches in the 10th. A couple times, it's been like Wandy or Enyel or I'm trying to think who else pitches in extra innings, but normally Suarez pitches that 9th, and he's not able to actually go the 10th. So I think it was awesome having him in the 10th, just shutting down everyone.
Right. But it kind of helped that the Padres were losing in the top of the ninth, or else if it was tied, Suarez would have pitched, I would think.
Yeah.
Because then they could have went with Estrada. If it's tied in that situation, you want to keep it tied going to the bottom of the ninth, but you're losing, but you're not losing by a lot, so you go with Estrada, but you're not going to pitch Suarez. So it kind of helped in that way. But yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
I had just a couple questions. One is like, what's your reaction like whenever you're losing and then you kind of hit a home run, but like you're not winning yet? Like, what's your reaction through it? Like when you're down 5-0, are you like?
Oh, when Manny homered off Glass now, I was like, I didn't really have a reaction. I was like, cool. And then when they score a couple more runs, I'm like, all right, cool. But it's not like, oh, we're gonna go win this game. I'm still not at that point. I believe in the team. Like these 5-0 games, I don't turn off even if they're down 8-0 in the ninth and they're not going to win. Even in past years, I still don't turn it off because that's just I watch all the games. But no, like it is different, and there's no reason why you should turn it off with this year's team. And so when Manny hit the homer, his second homer, that's when I was like, all right, we're down, but I mean, look at Petco Park, how electric it was. And it's like trying to give up one homer. Okay, he's going to be rattled here. And we know the guys coming up, like Merrill, he's not afraid of the moment. And so the Manny homer was really where I was like, all right, we could really get this. And that was obviously, second to last inning of the game. But no, like I respect the Dodgers and the talent they have, even when they are banged up. And it was a 5 spot. Like that's hard to come back from. And so, yeah, I'm not sitting there today, at least when you're down 5-0 and you score a run. I'm not like, oh, we're going to go win this game. I mean, there's a lot that you still have to go do. And by the way, there's a lot of time for the Dodgers to add a run, a couple of runs. And they didn't do it. Like props to the Padres, everyone that contributed. But yeah, that's how I was kind of reacting.
Yeah, I'm down in my basement trying not to wake up my family because, like, it's 12:54 for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm 2 hours ahead. Is that right?
Yep.
10, yeah. And see, I'm going absolutely nuts. And I was like, I knew when Solano was coming up to bat. I was like, all right, Schilt, let's, I know Cronenworth, he's awesome. He wants to win. He's hit off this guy before in a huge situation. But I think in this situation, you go with Solano, and he did. But do you think Vasquez gets moved down now that we have the Hoeing guy and Martin Perez? Because my guess is Hoeing is going to start a little bit. I don't really. I mean, Schultz
I don't
hasn't came
know.
out.
Yeah, I mean, they could. Maybe they'll give. I haven't looked at Perez's game logs yet, but I'm just looking at like the whip and stuff, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, I feel like
Yeah,
Vasquez might even be a little bit better than Martin
yeah.
Perez.
His last outing was good against the Cardinals. He actually pitches really well against the Cardinals, but that's really all I've seen.
Yeah, like Vasquez obviously couldn't get 7 outs his last time out. I'm looking at Martin Perez's game log. Yeah, 6 innings, no runs. Last time out against St. Louis. But then 11 runs combined in his 2 outings before that. But then he gave up 1 earned run and 7 1/3. Yeah, against the Cardinals, July
Yeah,
4th. It's literally up in his game logs. Holy cow. It is literally a roller coaster. It is terrible or really good. It's
and
1 run or 9 run. I mean, there was a 9-run outing.
and
So,
Ruben Niebla could help him. I mean, no,
yeah,
he
hopefully.
could,
Yeah.
yeah.
He'll make starts, but I do wonder if they're gonna do that right out of the gate. They might can I wonder if they can because he's a vet. I wonder if they can send him to El Paso, just to give him a start or two. Maybe Ruben recommends some things and they have him go start a couple games and work on those things there, regardless of what the results are, because it's El Paso. Maybe that's what they do. But no, I think it would be Vasquez or Perez. I don't think that they would have what is his name again? Hoeing?
Hoeing, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that they'd have him start. I think he's more of a 3 inning at a time guy, He could be the Johnny Brito, we were talking about or I was talking about Musgrove Brito, kind of that piggyback to before, to get ready for or in between when Musgrove is still ramping up. They go Brito and Musgrove. They could go Musgrove and Hoeing instead of Brito. Brito's been dealing, I think, with that forearm stuff, so they could go that. And it's not like Hoeing's been bad at the big league level this year, so it's going to be interesting. It just gives you another arm, someone that was better than Adam Mazur.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's losing sleep that Adam Mazur is no longer here.
I'm kind of curious who's gonna get moved down in the bullpen, right? Like, who do you think is going to get? Enyel's gone, but my guess is the Austin Davis would go too, right? You think? Because you have
Yeah,
to make
so
room.
the bullpen right now, I'm looking at it. I already have Scott in there, and I haven't sent anyone down yet on my bullpen chart. So for me, it's between Davis or Gillespie, because Jacob's not going anywhere. That guy,
He is.
I mean, I
Yeah.
have not even mentioned him. So you got the 5 high
Yeah.
leverage guys. You've got Yuki, who hasn't even been terrible this year.
Yeah, I like
You've
him a
got
lot.
Wandy when he could come back. We'll see what happens there. And you have Jacob. I mean, that's if a bullpen's 8 guys deep. Let's say you have 5 starters, 8 guys in the bullpen. That's 13. That's the max you can have. That's a lot of guys that you could trust right there. And usually it's 3 guys, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I don't think Kolek would go. Yeah, I think it's Davis or Gillespie, and I think they'd probably go Davis.
yeah, Gillespie's better. And Kolek's a Rule 5 draft pick, right? So
Yeah. Kolek's not going anywhere, I don't
yeah.
think.
Yeah, so.
All right, Parker, I'll let you go to sleep, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for staying up.
Yeah, of course, man. Padres fan, even out here in Missouri, so.
I appreciate it. Hey, when I was on the East Coast, I was up at 2 a.m, so I got you. All right, have a good one, man.
Night. You too.
Yep. All right, going through. I'll get to the chat here. Anyone else that wants to join the show, I put the link in the chat, so just scroll up and you'll see it. But here's some of the moves, just the trade deadline tracker and I'll just give some brief thoughts on it. Gregory Soto goes to Baltimore. Phillies get Seth Johnson, Moises Chasse. I'm not going to go through the names we don't know. I'll just go through the bigger names. Baltimore, they needed to improve their pen. Good job out of them. Arizona, they got Dylan Floro. Boston got Luis Garcia. Yes, that Padres, Luis Garcia. Good for Boston. I mean, the years that they've gone through, the fans, I should say. I shouldn't feel that bad. I mean, look how many World Series they've won in my lifetime. But it's been tough for them. Seeing Bogarts go, Betts get traded. But hey, they're adding. Baltimore acquired Austin Slater from Cincinnati. San Francisco added Mark Canha. Tampa Bay added Dylan Carlson. Yankees added Enyel de los Santos, Thomas Balboni Jr. Don't know anything about Balboni Jr., so I'm not going to act like I do. The Dodgers are a team that was interesting. Like, here's another thing. Who had the better deadline? Like, who is set up better, the Padres or the Dodgers, to make a long postseason run? You could say the Dodgers, they have more power than the Padres. You could say they have guys hurt. They've got talent in the rotation. But we know Kershaw hasn't come up big every time in the postseason. And who has the better bullpen? We know those games can be shortened when you have a really good bullpen. Who's got the advantage? It's the Padres. The Padres have the advantage over definitely over almost every team in baseball. They may have the advantage now over every team in baseball with the back end of the bullpen. And it's not even the back end of the bullpen, because when we say back end, it's usually like 7, 8, 9. The Padres have 5 of those. And then they have more like Alec Jacob and Yuki, you know? So bullpen, I give the advantage to the Padres. Talent on offense, you could still go Dodgers, but the Dodgers are banged up. The Dodgers made bigger splashes. Crochet, Kiermaier, Ahmed Rosario, Tommy Edman, but they're dealing with injuries. The Padres, they have Tatis coming back. Rotation, they have Musgrove coming back. We'll see what happens with Darvish. And by the way, Cease is pitching well. King's pitching well. Waldron's been pretty consistent for the most part this year. Pleasantly surprising. If you add in Musgrove and he can get back to who he is, I mean, how much of a gap really is there then between the Dodgers and the Padres rotation? Then you go to the lineup. I'll put the Padres lineup against the Dodgers because this Padres team fights. If they get down, they've got pitching that can shut out the other team, like we saw against the Dodgers in Game 1 of this series. So, yeah, the Dodgers made a lot of moves, and they were name players. But what the Padres did, they already acquired Dylan Cease. They already acquired Luis Ariz. They got a better back end of the bullpen than they just have a better bullpen, period, than the Dodgers do. I like having Mike Shildt as the manager over Dave Roberts. I think it's close. Yeah, the Dodgers, they're probably going to win the NL West. They obviously had a big, great start to the season. They have Ohtani. They'll have Freddie back, hopefully, at some point. And I say hopefully because that's a personal situation with the son. You know, I don't want Freddie to be in that lineup. That makes them better. But I'm saying hopefully just because from a human being standpoint. Mookie, I believe he'll be back at some point. They've got talent there. I'm not saying the Dodgers don't have talent. But Padres versus Dodgers in the postseason, I'm not scared of the Dodgers. I'm not sitting here scared of the Dodgers. In 2022, Padres had talent. Dodgers had talent. Dodgers were the big favorite. Padres won. Why did the Padres win? They had a back end in the bullpen. They had guys come up clutch on offense. They had that fight. They got some good starting pitching performances. Say the same thing about the Mets series. The Padres have that ability this season. So, yeah, Did the Dodgers make themselves better? Did they improve their depth? Kopech and Edman, the guys that they got more, obviously. Yeah, sure. But the Padres did as well. And the Padres got some of the best relievers in baseball. Jason Adam, better than Michael Kopech. Tanner Scott, better than Michael Kopech. He's been better ERA. He's been, the guy is, again, it's a sub 1.20 ERA. The Padres have shown head-to-head against the Dodgers this year that they can be better than the Dodgers head-to-head. They can fight with the Dodgers. They're right there with the Dodgers. I don't care what the records say. So, I don't know. I'm just not scared of the Dodgers. I'm not. Postseason series, get your popcorn out if that happens. Some other moves here. So Dodgers, they get Jack Flaherty, Kevin Kiermaier. Jack Flaherty is another one that I probably should have mentioned about the Dodgers improving their team. It would have been nice to get Jack Flaherty, no doubt. But, and I know this was years ago, but I sure remember the Padres beating Jack Flaherty in the postseason. They can do it. The Dodgers, they had talent in 2022 in their rotation, and look what happened. They had talent last year in their rotation, and look what happened. You know, when the postseason comes around, something switches with that Dodgers team. So I'm just, whoever they require, like, I'm not scared. They had Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, and what happened? Did they win the World Series? No. Philly got Tanner Banks. Eloy Jimenez traded to the Baltimore Orioles. Interesting. I wasn't sure he was going to get dealt. There wasn't a whole lot of talks about Eloy going anywhere. Let's see. Trevor Richards to the Twins. Paul Blackburn to the Mets. Lucas Urseg to the Royals. The Royals are going to be an interesting team to watch. That AL Central, the Twins, Guardians, and Royals. That's an interesting division. Paul DeYoung to the Kansas City Royals. I love it that Kansas City is going for it. There are those teams in baseball, those smaller market teams like Kansas City. You know, St. Louis is a smaller market, but we know, like, baseball town. When they're in it, it's good. Sure, when big market teams, obviously that draws a lot of people, but those smaller market cities, and San Diego, I think we get that label because we're not LA, we're not New York. So I'll throw the Padres in there. But like the Padres, the Royals, the Twins, the Mariners are a team I'd throw in there. We'll see what happens with them. The Orioles, that's not the biggest market. It's a market. It's a big market, but it's not the biggest. Teams like that make the postseason, it makes the postseason better. It just does. It's fun to watch when those teams are in there, in my opinion. Alex Cobb to Cleveland. Lucas Sims to Boston. Nick Martinez did not get traded, by the way. That was interesting. Josh Bell to the D-backs. Josh Bell, man, he just keeps getting traded at like every deadline, huh? Trevor Rogers to the Orioles. Man, the Orioles, yeah, they definitely stocked up on their relievers. Mark Leiter Jr. to the Yankees. There was a lot of names that got dealt. Jorge Soler to the Braves. Frankie Montas to the Brewers. Ahmed Rosario to the Dodgers. Kikuchi to the Astros. And that's what it was like, man, that's a lot for Kikuchi. And that maybe is what discouraged some teams, maybe the Padres, from trying to go get Jack Flaherty. But then it didn't seem like it was that outrageous of a price. It feels like the Padres could have had Flaherty, but they decided to go with Tanner Scott and then Hoeing and then Martin Perez. They decided to go with the best reliever out there instead of Jack Flaherty, who wasn't really the best starter out there. That's Skubal, Crochet, although those guys weren't really out there. So I guess you could say, like, sort of the best starter out there. But that's not, to me at least, Flaherty is not what's years past were huge Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer. I don't put Flaherty on that level. Corbin Burns before the season to the Orioles or Dylan Cease to us. I don't put it on that level. Lane Thomas to Cleveland, that's interesting. Justin Turner to Seattle. Eric Fetty, Tommy Pham go to the Cardinals. Cardinals are going to be an interesting team. Felt like the White Sox there, they did not maximize that. I mean, it's Miguel Vargas who has some flaws and then some other guys that who knows that they're going to pan out. For Tommy Pham and Eric Fetty and Michael Kopech that they gave up, I mean, I feel like you got to get more from that. Michael Lorenzen to the Kansas City Royals. That would be a guy I would have been interested in. That would have been fun to have him. Isaac Paredes to the Cubs. Some are wondering, like, oh, Cubs buying. It's a little bit of both. I mean, he's there long term too. These aren't deadline day deals. These are before. Jesse Winker to the Mets. Carlos Estevez to the Phillies. Yankees got Jazz Chisholm. Nate Pearson to the Cubs. Zach Eflin to the Orioles. Orioles, they bolstered that pitching. They knew they had offense, but they bolstered that pitching. Good for them. Austin Hayes to Philly. Yimi Garcia to Seattle. Ryan Stanek to the Mets. Randy Rosarena to the Mariners. James Paxton to the Red Sox. AJ Puck to the D-backs. So that's what I got there on some other moves. Like if I was, I mean, I can't imagine being a Dodger fan because I hate that franchise. But if, let's say I was in a hypothetical, I'll try to imagine my best being that fan base. I'd be happy and disappointed because I'd be disappointed because I think that the Dodgers should have done more to get more bullpen help, which is awesome to say as a Padres fan. Michael Kopech, I don't think that's enough. But I'd be happy that you got depth on the infield. You got Rosario. You got Edman. You got Jack Flaherty to improve the rotation, give you another arm there. So you did stuff to improve the team. But if you're the Dodgers, shouldn't you want to improve everything because you're already all in? Improve everything. Like, go farther than Kopech. You should go more than that. But I'm happy that they didn't. I'm happy that that's what they did. The Padres can hang with the Dodgers. If you don't believe that, I don't know what games you're watching. What's the deal with Darvish? Don't know. Family, personal reasons, still no update there. He doesn't owe us an update. We'll see. For me personally, I am banking on a Musgrove return. I'm not banking on a Darvish return. I'm banking on the rotation for some period of time. Don't know how long. I'm banking on the rotation being no particular order: Cease, Musgrove, King, Waldron, and then Perez or Vasquez. That's what it's going to be. And then if you get Darvish back, that's like a trade deadline addition. I don't like thinking like that all the time because I'm not thinking about that with Musgrove. I'm not thinking like that with Tatis because that gets thrown around as almost like an excuse not to improve a team sometimes when an injury happens. And it's like, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't think of that as, oh, trade deadline addition almost. No, go get more. You should project your team with that player. But with Darvish, I would think of it almost as like a deadline addition because of the personal reasons. Like, I don't know if he's going to return. Or with Musgrove, there's no personal reasons. I'm expecting him to return at some point in August. AJ says, Dave Roberts kind of lost it at the end. Credit to Mike Schild. Yeah, he did. Hello, Maverick Gamer. Wanted me to say hi. Hello. Oh, we got someone from Germany tuning in. Leon. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. No, the Padres should not go sign Trevor Bauer. That is not what they need. Nathan says, we are trying to win now. As much as I love our prospects, I'd rather take our chances now and trade the superstars away when we aren't a competing team, then plan for the future now. Pitching wins playoffs, and out of all the playoff teams currently holding spots, I think I would say the Padres have the best bullpen. I haven't looked at other bullpens. I think the Phillies are probably pretty good. But no, I am confident without even looking at other bullpens and saying that Padres have the best. I don't have to look. I can make a case. If another fan base wants to say no, this bullpen, I can make a case why it's the Padres. So even if another bullpen has a case, I can still make the case for the Padres. So I'm going to say, yeah, it's the Padres. Joe Bat says 5.5, not too big of a hole to climb out of, especially with our upcoming schedule while looking at theirs. I don't want to get too much caught up in their schedule. They're a good team. They could go win those games. With the Padres, though, yeah. Rockies, Marlins, Pirates, yeah. Go take advantage of that. Go give yourself a cushion in that wild card race. I mean, remember earlier this year, swept by the Angels. Did they get swept by the Rockies? I think they at least lost a series to the Rockies. There have been series this year against bad teams that they have not been able to take advantage of. They took advantage of it against the Nats, swept them during that road trip. Obviously, last year we know that they did not do a good enough job at all. Not nearly enough. Not even close at taking advantage of those bad teams. So, yeah, that's a big stretch coming up. Michael says Muncy out rest of the year. Is that true? I didn't know that. Max Muncy. Oh, okay. First headline I see. Dave Roberts provides less than optimistic update on Max Muncy. Muncy's progress is stagnant. Mookie continues to swing a bat, progress to soft toss and flips. This was a couple days ago from Fabian Ardea. I think he writes for The Athletic. Could take BP soon. Robert said Max Muncy's progress is stagnant, still dealing with some discomfort, but tests have come back clean. So he's just not healing. So I don't know if he's out for the year. You could look at it that way, Javier. I don't want to because we just don't know. But Javier says, seems that Yu is coming back since no starting pitcher was brought in. The Padres could say that. I mean, maybe privately, Darvish was like, yeah, I'm going to come back. Just don't say anything publicly. And the Padres obviously would obey those wishes. Maybe. I hope that's the case. I'd love to have Darvish back, but I'm not going to make any assumptions. The good news is the bullpen that the Padres have now, with the arms they have on paper, if they make the postseason, yeah, you want Darvish, of course, but if you have your four starters being Musgrove, Cease, King, and Waldron, that's not that bad. That's not too bad at all. And Waldron, let's say he's the 4, wouldn't have to pitch every time out because you only need 3 sometimes with the days off you have. Wildcard series, obviously, you only need 3, hopefully 2 if they win in 2 games. So, this bullpen, man, I can't say enough how great it was that they added 2 guys that could be the best setup men in baseball, could close games. You add that to Morhone, Estrada, Suarez. You have Yuki after that. You have Yuki outside those 5. Alec Jacob. I mean, it's amazing. So I'm happy right now. I'm, could end up being sad at the end of things, but as a fan of the team, and that's what I am, I'm not the GM. I don't have to worry about the prospects. I love that AJ, it's not like he had a choice really, but I love that he made some stunning moves today or this week that I was not expecting. Expect the unexpected with AJ Preller, obviously. He made some big moves. He improved his team. This team deserved him to go out and buy and bring reinforcements in. Last year's team, I didn't think so. This year's team, for sure. And the Padres, if they make it to the postseason, they're healthy. They're as well set up as any team, I feel like. Power is a question, but I mean, other than that, I guess there's some power bats there. They're as set up pitching wise, I feel like, as maybe any team in baseball in the National League with what has happened here this season. So a fun night beating the Dodgers, walking off. Dodgers choking a lead, always fun to watch. We'll see what happens in game 2. Have a great rest of your night. For those that are still here at 11:20 p.m., I appreciate you. For those that are here from Germany, maybe you're on the East Coast, maybe you're in Kansas City, wherever you are, thank you so much for the time. I don't take it for granted. I appreciate all of you. And see you later. Go Padres.